Hello, I'm Lauren, and welcome to Improving the World. I'm an international improviser based in Hong Kong, and I speak to amazing improv women all over the world. Today being no different, I talk to Tanine Dunais. She is an Iranian improviser who is based in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And we are talking about how her cultural background and personal history shape the improv art that she produces. But furthermore, how one often tries to alter the way that they perform the things that they say or do to be relevant and understood and, may I say, please an audience or their fellow performers. So we look at the ideas of self-censorship and why we might do that. And of course, we get into the idea of gender as well. This one is so interesting and deep, and I think that you will really enjoy. Now then, I encourage you to improvise your way on down to the subscribe button, and then I hope that you enjoy. Today I'm joined from Amsterdam by the lovely Tanine. Hello.
Hello.
So we are in this, can I just say, stunning building, the mosque. I feel like the windows behind me are like ridiculously beautiful, but I'm loving the ceiling behind you too.
Yeah, this is really pretty. I can't say I have seen it in person, but I have seen similar ones. It's a mosque.
Yeah.
But you know those windows that were actually inspired by a church, a visit to a French church. It's like, oh, tainted window. We won't like that.
Yeah, that's so good. And of course, we are here in Iran because we're talking today about the journey that you've had and your experience as an improviser, someone who's from Iran, and then you learned improv outside of Iran when you moved overseas, and how your life and your experience and your journey have influenced and continue to influence your improv and your art. So tell me first, for anyone who doesn't have a context, maybe, improv doesn't exist in Iran right now. Why is that?
In Iran, we have a system that's not very democratic. The system has to keep itself safe. It's not a total dictatorship, but it's a form of dictatorship that wants to keep safe. So therefore, any form of art, any book, any movie, play who wants to be promoted, even shown before even played, has to be submitted to authorities, a certain ministry, has to be read thoroughly, double check with different organizations, make sure there is nothing against the religion, against the politics, against this, that. There are a lot of factors, there are a lot of things we can't talk about. They're going to check for that and then give it permission to be published. Improv is made on the stage. It can't exist in the current form in Iran. It just doesn't go with the law if they say something bad.
I want to see an improv scene where somebody has the job of checking, and like all they do all day is sit and have to go over things with a big marker and redact information. And they're like, oh, they said banana, shaped like a penis. No, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to see.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe they put dark color on people's neck on the stage, and then an authority member gonna sit there and like press the button every time. Like, I mean, like a new choice kind of thing, but with a little bit of a, harsh.
Yeah. The next level. Oh no. I think we've gone dark already. I love it. As you said, it's a form that is live on the stage, so much so that you really can't submit it. And therefore it's not something that you did when you were younger, but when you moved overseas. And when you lived different places, you lived in Italy and you're now in Amsterdam, you are in a quote unquote Western culture. Maybe they're multicultural cities, but still it's a Western culture. So tell me about the improv that you're producing with your experience in that culture.
I learned improv in Dubai. I didn't know it exists before that. In Dubai, I was between people of different background, Arabic background, Indian background, etc. But they were still producing, tapping into the pop culture that comes from West. Because that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants Netflix, and in Netflix, most of things comes from West. Or they watch, I don't know, TV or satellite that comes from there. So everyone was agreeing, this is what we have all in common, and that's what we're gonna play with. Then you move to Europe, as you mentioned, and it's even more limited because now we are only playing with that culture. I'll give you an example. I go on the stage, and if you ask for a location, barely ever anyone gives a location that's out of Europe or the US or Australia. Once in a while, China or maybe Japan, and that's it. It's just try to give Syria. everyone like, what do you mean Syria? It's not understandable. They don't know what the country look like. It's not just the war or what's the culture or where they come from. So I personally, to answer your question, I started to adjust myself to how people with whom I improvise think. What do they like? What inspires them? Syria won't inspire my friend. Trying to be the improviser, I have to say stuff that inspire them. And I know what inspired them for a romantic scene will be Paris, will be Rome, will be, I don't know, Amalfi, something like that. So more and more I disconnect myself from what a romantic Iranian teenager would do and put myself in the mindset of what a romantic teenager in Europe would do. Therefore, their whole baggage is just disconnected from my bag. It's just there and I'm not tapping into it.
Yeah. Okay. I have so many thoughts. Let's see if I can manage them and sift through them swiftly. Okay. I feel so sad about this, and yet I simultaneously understand. It's sad to me that you feel that you have to disconnect from your life experiences, and yet I hear what you're saying. And as a person who also has lived in many different countries, I'm thinking maybe I too have done this in times, like when I'm performing in Australia, I'm not gonna just necessarily say the same things. And it's not even because I'm trying to disconnect, but it's because I'm trying to be understood, right? So I'm trying to make sure that what I say is gonna land so that we can move forward, because the goal is not to stop, let's give a history lesson. You didn't see that TV show, let me tell you about it for 5 minutes,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I really hear that. I'm wondering if the Western dominance in media and culture is taking over the true artistry or authenticity that you might produce. I don't know if there's a question here.
Yeah. I don't think that's fair to say, because people who I interact with, they would never think, even forget about saying that, oh, we are not interested. I think it's a little bit of the way things are more than trying to stop them. That's the way it is. Culture where I'm coming from, not represented all day, every day, the way that New York is or California is or London is. People are not familiar with it. And that's the responsibility of us improvisers who are coming out of that culture to start finding ways to introduce it and make it more and more comfortable for people. Personally, I think that, which makes me think, why am I not doing that more often right now? Which will be interesting thing to discover. Everyday thought of me is that finding a way to introduce people. It has happened at times that I have brought some of it. Let me give you an example, because it's very current now. Racism, talked about a lot these days in media. It doesn't mean the same thing to a person coming from Iran that it does to a person coming from the States who is dealing emotionally every day with this subject right now. If I want to talk about racism on the stage, I can't represent an Iranian, because that is not how an Iranian mind does racism. Not to say we don't have racist people in Iran. It's just different type of it. What I do is that if I go on the stage and I start bringing it up, it's a little bit personal for me. I am not white. I don't consider myself a person of color, but I'm not white either. I feel more like a person of color, to be honest, inside. And if I bring it up, I'm bringing it up as a point of view of a person of color who is not looked all the time as a person of color, as many Iranians are. I have two ways here. Am I gonna pretend I'm a white person on the stage as a character and think of their point of view? Or I attach myself to where am I coming from and do it the way they would do? These two are in conflict. There are two different ways. I hope I'm trying to make myself clear. The brain is divided in two, pleasing my partner and talking about what I want to talk about racism in Iran exists. I want to talk about that. But that won't please my partner. That won't get her there because it's not tangible.
Yeah. I think that you're trying to be a kind player. So it's not even so much about pleasing the partner, but about literally being understood so that they can go with you on the journey. Because as you said, you might have references or things that you would say or think or want to express, but they just literally won't get it because they don't have the same life context. And so how are you gonna keep going? What would it look like if we took off the neck brace and you just were improvising authentically as you? If you were just improvising as an Iranian or without having to worry, what would that look like?
don't know. I wish I knew. There are times that there are these little feelings in my stomach and I want to say something. And sometimes I do on the stage that comes from my background. But I think I would be a lot more fun on the stage if I could do that, because there are these jokes come to my head sometimes that are very funny. I think they are funny. And I can't say them because culturally it's irrelevant to people, like about even the food, like the most basic thing. If I say korma sabzi, it means nothing to the rest of the world, but it would be quite a funny joke in Iran. But I think I would be a lot more fun because I would be relaxed. And I love that you say pleasing people. I would like to go back to that because I would have to stop trying to please people and I would just start to play with them rather than trying to make sure they are happy. I would like to build on that. That comes from my female side as well. And I know that's what you really work on your blog. Does it come from my Middle Eastern female side that I try to please more than necessary? And is that what is stopping me from pushing more of my background? Because to give a little bit background to everyone, where I come from, female are still expected to be very modest and, keep it down. Don't be too much. Don't be too loud. When I say too loud, doesn't mean not like me, because, we are all very emotional, but keep your opinion to yourself. Let's put it that way. To feed into men's ego, to make sure your man or father or brother ego is protected. And that's so sad. In Iran, egos of men are taken care of as it is 1920. It's just, I can't stand. I go and watch my friends and what is she doing? Why? And makes myself happy that I have grown enough as a woman to be able to say, no, enough. I'm not gonna worry about that. The protecting and killing yourself as a character is equal being kind and nice in Iran as a woman. So is that background of mine, trying to keep your voice down and don't interrupt and don't say too much, stop me from bringing this all on the stage? That's the question.
I had this image building in my mind when you were talking about a large ego of someone in the room. And I was literally picturing a room and an ego getting bigger and bigger and filling the space. And in this instance, in your scenario, I pictured the woman taking up less space. And it's funny because we have this live conversation right now happening about space on the stage. I've had more than one interview where we talk about giving and taking space, and it often comes into a gender discussion. But I've never thought about it so literally as what you said about their egos are so big and we're feeding and feeding them. And if you're feeding and feeding the ego, that's what's taking space. And that's why you have to take less, because you're feeding someone else and therefore not yourself. So you are shrinking and taking less while they are getting bigger. And I just got it.
I love that image, Lauren. Yeah. I absolutely loved it because that's what I have been told during my journey of learning improv by various teachers. I remember specifically being in Patty Styles' workshop. She telling me, you come in very confident on the stage. You present and you're there, and right away you shrink into the corner. You come in like, yes, let's do this. And as soon as someone says that, you bring yourself small in the corner, your energy starts shrinking into nothing. And that's exactly the image you just gave. That's fantastic.
It's fantastic, but it's sad, right? It lines into what you were saying about the pleasing. Someone just said to me the other day how we often create conflict on the stage, because when you create conflict, you know exactly how you feel about a thing. So if I'm mad at you about your headphones, then I know exactly how I feel about this thing in this moment. And I don't have to worry about all the other stuff and my feelings and my discomfort and whatever. And I think pleasing someone gives you a singular focus. I'm working on making you happy in this moment, and I have directed energy so I don't have to worry about the other stuff. It's feeding this, but you're dropping all of this because you can only spend 100%.
Interesting. Yeah. I think also that could be one reason, and the other would be the brain pattern of when you enter the room, try not to be noticed. The things that we were raised, try to cross your legs, never sit down, not cross legs, only speak when you are asked a question. As a woman, not as a man, I would understand if they were treated both the same, like a French culture, like no kids should speak unless they're asked question. At least no kids should speak. But, boys are boys. These are the things that are disappearing in the Western culture, but they are very strong in Iran. I have my sister who lives in Toronto, who is educated, well-read person telling me, and that hurts my heart to say that out loud. It's the first time I'm saying it, actually. She told me, I don't think women should be paid as much as men. This is the first time, Lauren, I'm confessing to my own sister telling me that.
Sister, why?
Why? I know she doesn't mean it and she hasn't thought what she's saying through. So I don't judge her. I just judge my culture who raise girls who try so hard and they go to university and they read and they try to be whoever they are, still carrying this on the back of their head of we don't deserve any of this. We don't deserve to be represented as females. And later for me, I don't deserve to be represented as a culture. While, all the girls, the rest of the world have been taught from the age, 6 months old, that you deserve everything. I have to start just fighting with myself that I deserve it.
Yeah. Okay, so you sort of referenced this a little bit earlier, but do you feel, as you grow and change as a human, as a woman in this world, do you feel a responsibility to represent the ideal of what you want on stage? Because when you're on stage, people are paying to watch and listen. So in a certain kind of way, you're an educator as you are a performer. Do you feel any kind of responsibility to make sure that you represent or show or share what you want? Or are you just trying to manage yourself in this moment and it's not even educational yet? What do you think?
Yeah, wow, your questions are so down to my heart. I love them. I do. Every time I come off the stage, I think about it a few hours later, the opportunities I had. And I feel like, if you not Tanine, then who? Why are you not the one who is doing it? You are the one who should do it, basically. Then I go and try to discuss with some of more experienced people to see how I could have done it and try to learn to be a bit more confident. But I don't think I should be the one who survived. I have always been the black sheep in my life, and that shouldn't stop on the stage. I think I have this little worry of being put aside because people don't know what to do with me on the stage and frighten me, but it might just be me. And I haven't even tried to see, is it just you, Tanine? Because if I bring something very culturally personal on the stage, it has happened. And I have had phases of what should we do now? I read it like that. They are just curious, right? Maybe if I just didn't back off and I pushed a bit further, I realized that it's not we don't know what to do with you now. It's tell us more. We want to know what to do with you now.
Yeah.
It could be. So these are my constant thoughts, Lauren, of, am I doing enough? Am I being a chicken? Am I being self-protective? Why am I? I don't care. I don't want to. I'm not looking to, doing more and more. I want to do more and more quality, not quantity. Yeah. I rather remember for one scene that I did and I brought something up. Yeah, to answer you.
You just said something I think that was really poignant. You said self-protective. And I want to know, is part of self-censorship about protection? And is it about protecting me? Is it about protecting the audience? Is it about protecting the other players? Is the act of thinking and waiting a second before you say something and potentially not saying or doing something a protection thing? And maybe that's about, again, being a woman, being trained a certain way by society, whatever. Or is it coming from a place of kindness for yourself and protecting yourself or someone else? What do you think?
Very good question. I think protecting myself. Yeah. Trying to fit in. I think it's just trying to fit in. It boils down, it's trying to fit in. Yeah, I think I have always been afraid of not fitting in. And so when I find a community of people who at last I fit in with, I don't want to ruin it. And
Yeah, I totally hear that. I'm thinking about that too.
Yeah, I want to fit in. I have always, this is a little bit out of our conversation.
Sure.
I have been blessed with wonderful people. I haven't really, really been affected by anything racist. I have lived in Italy, Spain, France, a little bit in Greece, and now in the Netherlands. And hardly I have been subjected to racism in the level that people really suffer from. I have been hearing stuff, but very basic stuff, like go back to your country, in Italy mostly, because
if you're not making pasta, you can leave.
Well, yeah, I don't excuse them, but they are known not to be very open to other cultures. So I have heard that, and having to hear that again is one of my biggest fears. And this I confessed to a friend in Netherlands in January. I remember the day that it happened. I told her that, look, sometimes I get very emotional, and high emotion is something that is cultural to us. Italians are a little bit, then you go more north, less of it you see. But the way I talk doesn't sound very caricaturistic in Iran. Well, in Europe, or especially in Netherlands, it sounds a little bit like, where are you? So all over the place. Depend where you're interacting with. But this is normal way of talking in Iran. And I have heard people saying that, yeah, maybe you should tone it down and all that. Deep inside, I don't want to. I'm like, that's the way I talk. When I hear people saying that to me, I usually shut up. I don't say anything else anymore. I don't agree with them, but I stop talking. Because if I say, well, but that's how Middle Easterns are, they might say, well, then go back to Middle East. They might. They probably won't. But in my head, that fear of hearing that sentence is so strong that when I was telling this to my friends, I was actually in tears because I didn't realize I'm so afraid of hearing that sentence, of not fitting in and being told go back. Again, I have to insist. There is no way in the world my friends here would tell me that, but doesn't make me not being afraid of hearing it.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, the fear is obviously driving the behavior. And so taking us back to self-censorship being about self-protection, and then coming back to the history or the youth that you have, the place where you're from and what you have been taught in your life, it's sort of all full circle. So you have a certain thinking hiding away in the quiet somewhere in the back, and it is helping to control your actions and the things that you do or don't say, whether or not you even are actively wanting. It's just there, sometimes just quietly peeking out, right? All right, well, let me ask you, if you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share, what might they be? If you want to talk to the younger version of you, the improv community, or potentially someone who just found this video because they're creeping around on the internet, what do you want to say? What are your words of wisdom?
Yes, I would like to have a word of wisdom from women with the same background, especially young girls who haven't discovered their personality and character yet. The girls from Asia, from Middle East, from India, Iran, who want to improvise, who want to do any form of self-expression. Stop being sorry. We are not sorry for what we are doing. Whatever you are is perfect. And I don't say it as a cliche. Stop being sorry. We all from Asia have to stop saying we're sorry. You're not.
Yeah.
You know you're not.
You don't need to be, right? There's nothing to be sorry for. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. All right. Well, and finally, how can people find you? So if they're in the Amsterdam region and they want to watch a show, they want to buy you, what's a really Dutch, well, if I would say, could they buy you mint tea with marijuana in it or something? Like what would be the appropriate?
Oh, no. What about stroopwafel?
You put a coffee or tea, and on top of it, you put a little.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
if people want to buy you a warm cup with stroop and waffle, or come and see a show, how can they find you on this large internet?
You can add me on Facebook. My Facebook is like my name and family name, Tanine Dunais. And then I have my website. You can get in touch. It's connected to my email. Again, my name and family name, taninedunais.com. I have an Instagram account under my name, Tanine. Yeah, let's chat more if you're interested. I will be glad to.
Beautiful. All right. Well, so thank you very much.
You're welcome, Lauren.
Time and your thoughts and your energy, and for hanging out in the mosque with me. It's been really colorful.
So next time you want to do a scene with me, I might bring Moscow. Be careful.
Yeah, perfect. I'm ready for it. So long as I can bring up, like, I don't know, I want to bring up like another weird reference from my background.
Bring it on. I would love to be thrown into unknown. Also, now you know one image of masks, so you have a lot to work with. You can just go around and look at the colors and count the colors and call it a scene.
Count the colors and call it a scene. This is a 47-second scene where we're just counting each color and then that's it.
Yes, and the shapes, if we have more time, it doesn't have to be anything dark or deep. It can just be a mask.
Perfect. Well, thank you so very much. Thank you all for watching. I'm Lauren. This is Improving the World, and there's more where that came from. Bye. So, did you love the video? If you did, please say kind and wonderful things in the comments down below. And of course, you could subscribe, feeling sassy or not, and look for more Improving the World.